There's a term that you might have heard thrown around called cognitive dissidence. In fact, I used it in my last video. This psychological feature of the human brain is going to be an integral component of understanding all my future videos and concepts. In 1957, Leon Festinger released a book called A Theory of Cognitive Dissidence. This theory has been tested again and again over the years in multiple different ways, and it's proven its merit many times. Some of you may have heard of the phrase sour grapes. It's a reference to a parable about a fox and some grapes. There was a fox walking through a forest and he came across some grapes high up on a vine. He really wanted the grapes and he tried to get at them, and he realized that they were too high up. And then he heard laughing from a crow who was watching his attempts, and he got mad and he told the crow that, in fact, the grapes were probably sour, and he went on his way. This is a great example of cognitive dissidence. The fox wanted something, but when he couldn't get it, he was presented with a dissonance. His thoughts of wanting it and the reality of not being able to get it were not compatible with each other. So he had some things that he could have done. One of them, which was to try to get this mental pain to go away, he could have changed his thoughts and decided he really didn't want the grapes in the first place. Number two, he could have added a thought to maybe modify it, maybe decide that he wasn't all that hungry in the first place. He could also trivialize the inconsistency and just decide that he really didn't care. Or modify reality and decide that the grapes were sour. There's a fourth option, however, where he could have changed his behavior to match what reality had. He could have just asked the crow to snip the grapes so they'd fall down to the ground and get them. Maybe exchange it for a favor. This example is a fantastic template for us to look at how very fundamental this concept is and how it shapes our reality and belief system. When you were a kid, you were probably inquisitive. You asked your parents lots of questions like, why is the sky blue and why is the grass green? Maybe your parents tried to explain it to you. Maybe they told you it was God designed it that way. Maybe they told you to just be quiet. Maybe they admitted that they didn't really know. But as you got older, maybe somebody came to you and tried to explain to you the real reason why grass is green or the sky is blue. If it was the same explanation as the one you heard from your parents, then you wouldn't have any cognitive dissonance. It would have aligned with what you were told before. However, if it was a different explanation than the one that you thought it was before, you have been introduced to this cognitive dissonance. Now, this poor little kid has to decide which one is right. And they have to decide because of that pain is affecting them. In the field of psychology, cognitive dissonance is the mental discomfort or psychological stress experienced by a person who simultaneously holds two or more contradictory beliefs, ideas, or values. Inside you are beliefs, ideas, and values that are not consistent with reality. You don't have the pangs of cognitive dissonance right now because in the past you have used some kind of mental strategy to reconcile those feelings. How do you know when your beliefs, ideas, and values are incompatible with what true reality says can exist? Should you try to change your beliefs, ideas, and values to what reality would be compatible with? Why does it matter? Being made aware of this condition and its implications it has on our everyday lives will introduce cognitive dissonance to you as you watch this video. This is how you should deal with this kind of cognitive dissonance. If you are introduced with a new situation, belief, idea, or value, and it's not compatible with your current sets of beliefs, ideas, and values, then you should look for a connection to objective reality. First, we're going to talk about what I mean by that. Then we're going to talk about why you should do that. So number one, look for the link of the new belief, idea, or value system to objective truth. To explain this, let's use a really big example. For argument's sake, let's say that you are currently in belief that there is no God. Somebody comes along to you and claims that there is a God and that you should have a personal relationship with this person. You're skeptical and you ask for some evidence or reason. They tell you that they feel a deep and meaningful relationship with this person, this God, and that's how they know it's real. Now, they also say that if you reject this God, you're going to go to everlasting hell. You think it over, and you come to the conclusion that it would require a pretty big life change to change your belief system to match this. And it would be without any objective, repeatable, or observable evidence. So you tell this person it is not enough to choose this lifestyle and belief system with none of these objective, repeatable, or observable truths. You say to them, even if I felt the same thing you felt, that is not objective truth. Feelings are not manifested or linked to truth innately. If anything, they lead you away from the truth because of biases and misgivings. Then they would ask you what proof there is that there isn't God. And you think to yourself, I don't have an objective, repeatable, or observable evidence to prove that he doesn't exist. I just lack evidence that he does. Now you've been introduced with another idea that causes cognitive dissonance, challenging your past belief system. So you must conclude that since there is neither evidence for or against God, it would be arbitrary, illogical to randomly choose a belief system that is not built from the ground up based on objective, repeatable, and observable truth, facts in reality. There are knowable things in the universe that we know for certain are in fact true. We have completely discovered how atoms work and the forces that govern them. We know that evolution and natural selection are objective and repeatable and observable theories on how and why our bodies work the way that they work. Number 2, now we talk about why you should function this way. If you look at any group of people from any ideology, religion, or value system, you'll most likely have one unique interpretation of that system for each person that's in that system. These are areas of ambiguity that those systems are trying to fill, but there are always leaks. With science, it's no different, but instead of things being made up to fit those inconsistencies, we come up with a hypothesis that could explain the gaps. Then we become our harshest critic, and we try to disprove our own ideas. If after many attempts in many different ways, you can't disprove it, then giving based off of objective, repeatable, and observable truth, you put it into a paper, you write the paper, you put it out there, and other scientists now try to disprove you in a non-biased way. Then, if it passes all those, then we upgrade it from a hypothesis to a theory. Other religious systems and values and ideologies will quibble and quabble over who is right and who is wrong, or just come to the conclusion that we're all right and we all make our own realities in our minds. It's our own personal journey, which is literally false. Here is the definition of truth, to which truth is in accordance with fact or reality. Synonyms: correct, accurate, right, verifiable. This doesn't mean that you treat everyone who disagrees with you like trash. Instead, you have to be open to new ideas and new data and new hypotheses. In the truest sense of the word, you have to be open-minded. To change your belief system at the drop of a hat, if all the data coming from this hypothesis is objective, repeatable, and observable, and the evidence points to a new understanding of reality, then you have to change to it. Otherwise, you just created your own little false religion that isn't compatible with the one that reality supports. Knowing a few things for sure is better than knowing nothing and believing that it explains it all. Of all the ways to deal with cognitive dissidence, that is generated from these objective, repeatable, and observable truths. The best way is to change your behavior or belief so that it aligns with reality. Anything else you do to minimize that discomfort is the same as that fox deciding that the grapes are sour. You're just using a different mental strategy to not feel that discomfort. If you have no basis for truth other than your own bias and nebulous emotions, then what you believe is no more valid than the Prince of Nigeria needing your help, or Donald Trump dealing with these inconvenient facts by calling them fake news. We all deal with cognitive dissonance in different ways, but there are correct ways and there are incorrect ways. People are afraid to make claims like that. But if that is what reality is telling us, we should listen, because that's the only thing that we have based in reality to be a guiding star for us. All right, guys, I know this is another heavy-duty video. What I'd like to do is talk about some of the links down in the description. I linked the original studies and experiments done with cognitive dissonance back in the 50s. Also, a more recent video done to just kind of summarize what I've talked about today. Also, there's a couple links I have of a physicist and cosmologist, Sean Carroll. This guy's amazing. Really kind of laid it out. Exactly what are the things that are knowable and what are the things that are not knowable, and why we know them for so certain, and that there isn't going to be something that we discover that totally rocks this bedrock of understanding how physics work, especially in the atoms and what's going on there with particles and the Large Hadron Collider. Really interesting stuff. If you don't get into it, then I can see it's a lot easier to dismiss it. But once you actually test it for yourself and see exactly how they're coming to these conclusions, I think you'll agree that there is a lot more things that we do know, but also being very aware of that boundary of what we don't know. Not that we should just give up and make stuff up, but to continually move forward and make that progress through the scientific method. So thank you for getting this far. I know this is heavy duty stuff, but I think you'll be the better for it. Bye. Oh, don't like and don't subscribe. Next week, on a totally unrelated note, we're going to be talking about reverse psychology. Bye.